Okay, so yesterday we discussed about the settlement. We did create one order type. Okay, we did create one order type called R20R1. Of course, we have created a new company code called 2000 within the same controlling area, and the this is what our order type. And here when you see, we have got a settlement, this 20R1. The settlement talks about where to settle. So we kept the settlement rule as cost center, and we have settled the amount to the cost center as well yesterday. Now I have not completed the fixed asset configuration. So once I complete the configurations, we will discuss that tomorrow probably. Okay, we will see right here. When you go here in the actual postings in the settlement, here we have maintain settlement profile. This settlement profile requires allocation structure. Now when you double click on maintain settlement profile, here this is the one. Okay, when I go into details, I see allocation structure 21, right? So this allocation structure basically tells where, what are the receiver, what are the source objects, source cost elements, or source thing, and where are we settling those. That is what basically the allocation structure talks about. If I click on this maintain allocation structure, this is ours, 21 is ours. So select the same thing here, assignment. We did create only one assignment, but if at all you have multiple objects, receiver objects in the sense, I want some portion to be settled to cost center, remaining portion to be settled to profitability segment. In such a case, I will require two different assignments. So this is totally what is the basis and where are we settling, and based on that we will be creating the assignment. I've just created only one, selecting the same thing, source. These are my cost elements talking about this expenditure. So if I post any transactions into any of these list of cost elements where this needs to be settled, that is what we are mentioning over here. So double click on settlement cost element, and here we mentioned as a receiver category as cost center. So we need a cost center. Whatever the expenses that we are posting using the internal order. Now, this allocation structure is maintained in the settlement profile. This settlement profile will be linked to an order type, and using that order type, when we create any order and when we post any transactions using this cost element range, and at the end of the month, we will be settling that to this cost center. That is the meaning of it. Okay, in settling this, we can use by primary cost element or secondary cost element. Now, when you see at the secondary cost element, secondary settlement cost element, there are two types of settlement cost elements. One is the internal settlement, the other one is the external settlement. On what basis we can say it is an internal, and what basis we can say it is an external? Suppose this is your controlling area. This is your controlling area, and let's say we have here cost center, we have internal order, we have production order, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is our internal order, this is our sales order, and cost center, and profitability segment, COPA. Now, if I want to move the values from one object to the other object within the controlling, this is our controlling. If you are moving the values from one to the other object, that is called internal settlement. That is called internal settlement. But when you want to move the values outside the controlling, let's say your fixed financial accounting. and you want this to be settled to AUC. If you want to settle this to AUC, if you want to settle your internal order to AUC, then that is called external settlement. The, the settlement, the transfer of the values of internal order to the AUC is called external settlement. Why? Because this internal order is taking the values to the AUC. AUC falls under finance. AUC is part of finance. AUC is part of fixed asset. Fixed asset is part of finance. So this is called external settlement. So based on the object, the settlement cost element will be triggered. If it is happening to a cost center or production order or something else, then within the controlling, that is called internal settlement. So we have created two settlement cost elements, one for internal, the other for external. Suppose if you select the same thing as fixed asset, if you see over here, you can find the fixed asset. If you see this fixed asset, what does it mean? It means it is settling to the external object. So in that case, we will have to select the external settlement cost element. Of course, based on this receiver category, the settlement cost element will be triggered. Now, since we have a cost center, when you go and select the F4, you can see only the internal settlement cost element. But the moment you select, fixed asset, now here you can see, since it is a fixed asset, you can see the external. You can see the external settlement. You can see the external settlement. So based on the receiver category, the settlement cost element is required. So basically we have got two, one is external, the other one is internal. Based on the receiver category, the relevant cost element requires to be selected. Okay, now in order to run this scenario, I mean, taking the receiver category as FXA, fixed asset, and selecting this external settlement, we require AUC asset. When do we require this AUC? Suppose using this, now if I want to create any internal order, KO01 is the internal order master data creation. Okay, KO01. And here we will be selecting the order type 20R1. Okay, so this order type 20R1, if you go back to here, first we are creating an internal order using this order type, right? And once we post a transaction to the order created under this, what happens? While settling, first system checks the internal order master. So in the internal order master, you
Hi
have
Nanda.
this order type.
Hi
Yes,
Nanda. Good morning. When did you
good.
start?
Almost 15 minutes back.
Oh my God. Okay, because I
Just,
have some issue. So what did you cover?
just we are going the same thing. Okay, so using the internal order, when we are settling, the internal order will have an order type. It goes and checks the order type, and it first goes into the order master here, order type master. Okay, it goes and picks up from here, it picks up the settlement profile. Yes, this is the settlement profile 20R1. And again, what it does is it goes into the settlement profile. It goes into the settlement profile 20R1. It goes into the settlement profile 20R1. And what does it have? It has a allocation structure. Now, what it does is it goes into the allocation structure. What allocation structure is this? According to this allocation structure, we have got only one assignment, and whatever the expenses that are posted within this range, system will pick up those only that amount, and it checks what is the receiver category. Yes, this is the receiver category. It means it is a cost center. Now, where is the cost center number is created? The cost center number is created in the internal order that we are going to do now. So once we enter here, we will be just selecting the internal order. Here we are entering the company code, we are entering the profit center. Now here we have a settlement rule. Once you select here the receiver category, here we have selected the fixed asset, so we will have to select the fixed asset, or since we have a cost center here, select the cost center and select the receiver. Select the receiver cost center. Let us say our cost center is this one, and I'm saying total 100%, this needs to be settled to this. So when we post any transaction to this internal order, this is our internal order. To this internal order, when we want to settle it, what it does is it checks the settlement profile and comes back here to see where this needs to be settled. This is the receiver's cost center, and it takes the values from internal order to this cost center. This is what on the whole the behavior of the program. Now we have seen the internal settlement. This is what the internal settlement. So when do we have the external settlement? If you are considering any object that is outside the controlling, then there you require the external settlement. So if I want to settle this fixed asset, then it is nothing but an external settlement. So, but I have not completed the fixed asset configuration. I mean, I don't have the the AUC asset in place, so I cannot run the receiver object, the fixed asset. So what I will do, I'll finish the fixed asset, the configuration today, and I'll keep one AUC ready with me so that we will see the complete cycle. The cycle, how the cycle will happen here. This is one of the important scenarios. Internal order to AUC and AUC to fixed asset. So we have seen this part. I mean, what we have seen in our fixed asset part, AUC to directly fixed asset. It means AUC, what is AUC? Asset under construction. Suppose if you are constructing your own asset instead of buying from the outside, right? There are two options in this case, right? Either you can construct on your own, or you can buy it, whatever is available in the market. I mean, we want one building for factory. So what you can do, either you can purchase the factory building which is available in the market, or you can take a place, you can construct on that. These are the two options. If you are buying it directly in the market, AUC does not come into picture. Okay, it is kind of normal fixed asset what you are buying outside. Now if at all you are constructing any asset, that is called AUC. Now in such a case, the asset may not be ready in a specific time, in a month. So it will take some time, probably a year, 2 years, or 3 years. So whatever are the expenses that we are posting onto the asset are to be captured specifically. Now, if I create a fixed asset for that, instead of creating AUC, if I directly create a fixed asset and keep on posting the transactions, even though the asset, the building is not ready, then what is the main problem? In the case of fixed asset, according to the rules, we need to provide a depreciation. But when do we provide a depreciation? We will provide a depreciation only once the asset is ready and put to use. Okay, then only we will start using the depreciation. We will start providing the depreciation. But since the asset is not ready, we cannot provide. So for that reason, we have an option called AUC. It is called asset under construction. It is also known as capital work in progress. So we don't provide any depreciation as long as the asset status saying as AUC. So we'll keep on posting the transactions to AUC, and once the asset is ready, we will move the values from AUC to the main asset. This is what we have discussed in our fixed asset configuration in our fixed asset sessions. Now, there is another option also available using internal order. We can do this cycle. So what is the main difference here? It means we are posting the transactions here in the internal order, and this internal order is available for AUC, and you can track all the minute expenses using the internal order. It means internal order is used mainly for tracking purpose, detailed purpose. At any given point of time, if I want to see my internal order, I can see even the internal order is closed. Okay, I can see my internal order to view all my details, internal order postings. Okay, so for that reason, we will be using internal order scenario for fixed asset. So what happens in this case? I mean, in the earlier case, in the AUC, whatever are the expenses that we are posting for this fixed asset, we will post into AUC, and once the asset is ready, we will transfer AUC value to this fixed asset. This was the scenario that we discussed. Now, using this internal order, what happens is we'll keep on posting the same transactions into AUC, like what kind of transactions we'll have: buying steel, buying cement, payment to labor, supervisor salaries, or whatever the all these expenses will keep on posting into internal order. And every month we will settle internal order value to AUC. Every month we will have to settle the values of internal order to AUC, and once the asset is ready, from AUC to fixed asset. So this is what basically the scenario is. We have another option using WBS, of course. Using the WBS, you can take the WBS instead of internal order, you can create a WBS. From there, you can settle it to AUC, and from AUC, you can settle it to fixed asset once the asset is ready. So there is another option also using project systems. Now, in order to run this, we need to have fixed asset configuration in place. So we don't have the fixed asset configuration in place. I will be covering this scenario tomorrow, but typically the scenario will be like this. Any questions on this scenario?
No, no.
Yeah,
So WBS element also work as a internal order, correct?
correct. That is
Oh,
also one of the CO
oh,
objects.
so the WBS only used, when you are tracking the project cost.
Correct.
And internal order, all other expenses other than projects.
No, it is
How do we
basically
differentiate,
project is
Naga?
different.
I was just
It is,
about to ask that question. How do we differentiate between these two?
see, that's
And
totally the,
which one is a better? Which one is better in the real-time project?
see, that's what I'm saying. See
Hmm.
here, basically the project is different concept. I mean, altogether. Suppose if the business wants to consider the construction of building as one of the projects, then they can use project systems. If the business wants to use that as the construction of building just and without considering any projects, they can go ahead and use the same thing. There is no much difference in there is no difference basically. There is no difference between WBS and internal order process. It's going to be the same. Even in the WBS, we will post the transactions, same transactions we will post in the internal order. But the the report wise in the project systems, you can see some other reports using the WBS. Whereas in internal order, we can see some other reports. That's the only the difference. It is totally depends on the business process. Suppose if the business wants to consider the construction as one building, one project, within the project they may have multiple WBS elements, right? So for foundation, they will consider that as one WBS. Then the pillar part, roof part is considered as one another WBS. Then internal walls, I mean plastering, all those things, they may consider a different WBS element. That's it. That's only the difference. There is nothing. Typically from the posting perspective, there is nothing. There is no difference at all. Instead of considering internal order, we will be considering WBSL. That's the only the difference.
Okay, about like when it comes to the configurations, only internal order, FICO consultant can take care of it. But
Correct, correct,
in a WBS, only project system consultant, they are responsible
correct,
to configure. Oh,
correct.
all
We
right,
are
okay.
not responsible, but settlement, on the settlement, whatever the module you take. I mean, even in the production order settlement, uh, plant maintenance settlement, QM settlement, then the settlement will be our responsibility.
Correct.
We will have to take care of that settlement. It means where are we settling that amount and what is your settlement profile. Okay, the entire thing will be done by us. We
Okay.
will have to take care of that part.
So, but it is our duty to just make business understand what to use, whether to go with the WBS or internal order, correct?
Correct,
Oh,
correct.
okay, I see. Okay, got it.
Okay, from the posting perspective, we will not find any difference between internal order and WBS element. Instead of considering internal order, we will consider WBS element. That's only the difference. But from the business perspective, how do they want to treat that as? If they want to treat as separate project, then they will be creating a project definition. They will create few WBS element under that, and they just go on and maintain the same thing. Okay, so we will discuss that scenario tomorrow. Right, so that is what the settlement, internal order settlement. So internal order settlement, in that case we have internal settlement and as well as the external settlement. Any questions?
No, Nanda, thank you.
Yeah. Now there is another option. We have the same similar option what we have in our cost center called defined periodic repostings. We have seen that as part of cost center, right? In the cost center, from one cost center, if you want to move the values to the other cost center, then we will be using the cost center allocation. So within that allocation, we used to have periodic reposting, distribution, and assessment. Similarly, we have in an internal order, we have this periodic reposting.
Quick question, Nanda.
Yes,
Uh, in real time, which one will take priority in the transaction when we have cost object as internal order versus cost center?
right. As I mentioned yesterday, right? So when you are considering, cost center and order, this order may be a process order, production order, PM order, plant maintenance order, QM order, quality maintenance order, or production order. It may be any order. As long as the order is a real order, not a statistical order, then when you consider cost center and internal order will be considered as the highest priority. Then the other object will be considered as a statistical object. Suppose if I post, cost center, order, and sales order. Sales order will be considered as a real object. whatever are the order we consider, whatever cost center we consider, that will be considered as a statistical object. Suppose in a transaction, if I consider cost center, order, sales order, profitability segment, let's say I'm considering these four. So profitability segment will be considered as a real object. The sales order amount, the order amount, cost center amount will be considered as a statistical. Only one object is considered as a real object. This is what basically from the controlling perspective, this is what the sequence. So whenever in any transaction, if at all we have profitability segment, the the profitability segment will take the highest priority. Got it?
So the profitability analysis that comes first, and then it follows by internal order
Sales order,
or
sales
sales.
order, then order, cost center.
Okay. And what about the WBS element? That gets what
That
is
that
there?
WBS element, that's what I'm saying. And these four cases, these four are part of controlling. If at all you have WBS element, it means if you are considering any, it is just like internal order. It takes the priority. Suppose if I post a transaction, use a transaction using cost center internal order, WBS element. WBS element will take a priority. And suppose if I take cost center internal order, WBS element, and sales order will take priority. Okay, so it's like the internal order and WBS element will stand in the same level. But when you consider internal order and WBS element, WBS element will take priority. Got it?
Yes,
WBS
Nanda.
element, network are going to be the same.
Okay, sure, we got it.
Okay, now as we have discussed something about periodic reposting in the cost center. Similar concept we have in the internal order. So let us create a periodic reposting and let us see how it happens. The concept is the same. So what exactly this means is when you have common expenses, right? Common transactions. Let's say, uh, let us say we have three buildings. We are constructing three buildings. Let us assume we are constructing three buildings. For three buildings, we are purchasing the cement at one go. We are not purchasing cement for each of the buildings separately. For all these three buildings, we are purchasing, cement at one go, and steel at one go, and all the relevant expenses, and all the other the labor related, construction material related stuff, all we are doing it one go for all these three. So what do we do? While posting the transaction, we will take all of them into one internal order. From there we will move the values to different orders. That is what we call it. That is what this scenario is. Okay, so let us create some 3 or 4 internal orders and we will see how it happens. Okay, KO01, using the same, I'm creating some 2 or 3 internal orders. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything here in the control data. And in the settlement, I'm not settling anything here at the moment. This, if you want, you can settle it to a cost center at the end of the month. But we are not doing the settlement process, but just we are moving the values. So I'll tell you the exact scenario how it happens is. Now I have internal order 1, internal order 2, internal order 3. I have few expenses. What I'm doing, I'm selecting this. Okay, I'm selecting this. I'm always selecting this internal order one for posting all my common expenses. At the end of the month, what I have to do, I have to allocate. I have to allocate to set internal order one, internal order two, and internal order three. This is my month end activity, right? Now, let us say we also have to settle these internal orders to cost center. That is again the month end activity. But what my point here is, what my point here is the settlement has to happen only after the allocation. We are not going to run this settlement before this. What is the problem here? If you don't allocate and if you settle, you will have values only in internal order one, only that will be settled to the receiver object, whatever is maintained in this internal order. That is not the right approach. So what we will have to do is this in the month end activities during the month end, what we will have to do is first we will have to allocate, we will have to run this transaction, then after that we will have to run the settlement. So in the case of settlement, we can select all these internal orders individually, or you have an option to select all these internal orders in one go. So my primary point, what I'm trying to tell you here is this needs to be run before we go for this settlement. Okay, so let us run this part. In order to run this, we need to have expenses posted in one internal order, and in order to do this, we require three internal orders. So let's run this scenario. So for that reason, I'm creating three internal orders. So I have created one already. So I'm creating the second one. Okay, in the settlement rule, I can put cost center, and I will have to have one more.
Do we require to give profit center?
Yeah, profit center is required because why do we require a profit center? In order to see our financial statements.
Hmm.
Whatever the expenses that we are posting into this will go and sit here in this profit center. So at any given point of time, if I want to see my profit center, I can view this transaction. Of course, if I settle the amount from here to a cost center, subtract it from here profit center, and we'll add to the profit center associated with the cost center.
Okay.
Profit center is important in
Okay.
order to have our reports.
I thought, that profit center is only required, if it is involved any kind of balance sheet account
No, it is required in all the cases.
or even an expenses.
Exactly. The object is required anyway. In
Yes.
any way, the object is required. All the objects will have profit center.
Yes.
If you take WBS element, WBS element will have one profit center. If you
Okay.
take internal
So,
order,
okay. All right. Because, when we entering, in using the transactions code FP50, and if it is cost related, we only just give the cost center and profit center derived from the cost center.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
object
So
because
yeah.
so in the similar way for internal order, we are taking the profit center. Okay, so we have got three internal orders. Let us post a transaction into one internal order. For posting F-02, so 03/17/2019, it's a March period. That's fine. I'm posting into 400, 100, and I will say 1,25,000. I will say internal order 20 R1 is our order type. Order type is 20 R1. Okay, so this is the one that we have. So I'm posting into this order. Okay, I'm just saving now. Okay, now if you go back and see your internal order line item report, okay, and execute, this is not the internal order one. So one all zeros 3 1 is our internal order. You can find 1,25,000 here. Why you can see 62,50,000? Because it is in INR. Our group currency is INR. The internal order gets transferred into this. So how did we get this? Based on the exchange rate available. If you go into FB03 display line item, you know, this is our document number. When you press enter, 1,25,000 is USD. And if you see here in the group currency, you can find it in 62,50,000. This comes based on the exchange rate, whatever we maintain. Okay,
So Nanda, all the controlling related reporting, if we generate, it only shows in a group currency.
correct.
Oh.
Because we have entered in our configuration, we have entered the
Yeah.
same thing.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah, in a group currency, that is correct, but I just want to understand that, all the reports, in a
correct.
controlling, that only
Controlling
goes,
will be, yes, controlling happens based on the currency, whatever we maintain here.
okay. So by default, that's it picks up.
Correct.
Okay. And are you gonna creating one more internal order?
Why?
No, I'm just asking you.
No, we have created 3
Three.
internal
Okay.
order.
All right. Okay. The reason, that I had asked you, if you happen to, just enter additional, then I want you to just don't enter the profit center and see what is the effect of that.
You cannot see that. You
Okay.
cannot see that in our financial reports.
Okay.
Okay, so now 62,50,000 is our in INR. Okay, now we want to settle this. We want to repost it. We want to allocate the amount of this thing. Okay, the amount of this thing. Now I have posted with 400, 100, I think, right? Yeah, 400, 100. So this needs to be maintained over there. Suppose if I post a transaction with 4 lakhs GL, I'm just selecting the same thing here. 4 lakhs I will take. I'll say 50,000 here. And I'm selecting the bank account, saving. Okay. Now, if you go and see the internal order report, I can see 2 transactions. Okay. This is rent and this is salaries. Both have been paid against this internal order. Now, we will create a reposting now. We'll create a reposting. We will create a program and we will run that. Now here, yeah, define periodic reposting. Path for this is IMG, controlling internal order, actual postings, define periodic reposting, just execute. Double click on create actual periodic reposting, and here you can create your own cycle. Okay, so what I will do, 20, I will say periodic reposting. It starts from this date, let us assume, and I will say rent expenses. So you can select, you can deselect iterative. Iterative is important when you want to do the assessment, but it is not working in our case. I will have to figure that out. So cumulative, when do we use the cumulative and cumulative option? If you want to take the values unsettled, unreposted from the previous month in the current month, you can select the same thing. If you have a consumption and quantity, you can use the same thing. And if you want additional currency, you can use this thing. Now attach a segment. I will say rent here. Sender values, posted amount, full percent. I want to consider this is for actuals. I will take fixed percentage. Now sender and receiver, here this order is required to enter. Now if you select the relevant order, this is the one. Okay, this is the one I've selected, and of course cost element is also required, but let us see without that, it will stop us too. Now here we will select 3. Now when I say enter the cost element, now I want to consider only 400, 100, though I posted 2 transactions with 2 different cost element. One is salary, the other one is rent. I want to consider only the rent expenses. Okay, so this is the sender internal order. This is the cost element. It means whatever the expenses posted using this cost element in this order will be picked up and will be apportioned to these orders on the basis of percentage we mention over here in the receiver tracing factor. So press here and just mention the percentage, whatever the percentage you want to keep. I'll say 30% and 35%, 35%. Make sure that should not more than 35%. That should not more than 100%. It should not be more than 100%. Of course, system will not allow you to do that. Just save it now. So what I'm telling the system to pick up the values posted using this cost element in this order, pick up that and apportion on this basis. Okay, when you see our internal order report, since we have mentioned only this cost element, system will pick up only 62,50,000 amount and will apportion to all the orders. If you see over here, okay, and when you execute, you can see only the transactions in this cost center. We don't see in this order. We don't see any values in any of the other orders. Now let us execute the periodic reposting now. Now let us go into accounting, controlling, internal order, period end closing, single functions, template, evaluation, overheads, interest, settlement. Oh, I think it is not there, right? Okay, I don't remember having here, but anyways, we can see that in the cost center. So period end closing, single functions, and here periodic reposting. So this periodic reposting is not there in the internal order. It is not there in the internal order. I think it's the same. Even in ECC also, I think we don't have here. I'm not sure. Yes, I think it is not there here in this. Even in ECC also same. Okay, that's fine. I think that's fine. No, right. So we can go and perform this periodic reposting relating to the internal order from the cost centers periodic repo. It's going to be the same. There is no change at all. Periodic reposting for cost center, periodic reposting for internal order is the same thing. Okay, so periodic reposting, execute periodic reposting for internal order. Path for this is easy access, accounting, controlling, cost center accounting, period end closing, single functions, KSW5, periodic reposting. Just enter into this, select the period, third period, okay, run in the test run, detailed list, and select the relevant cycle. Oh, I think we have only one, that is what 20PR. Yeah, system is refreshed, right? So whatever the configuration we made earlier, that has gone. Okay, so we have got only one cycle. Select the same thing, just execute in the test run mode to see if at all we have any errors. So without any errors running in the test run mode, one sender, three receivers, you can see segment. We have got only one segment. This is the one. If you double click on this, you can see the proportion, the allocation proportion. Or directly you can see this by double click on this as well. Okay, here, this is the partner object. Okay, and this is what the amounts, these are the amounts. Okay, when you see the subtraction, okay, when you see the subtractions here, and this is what the partner object, receiver object going to be this. See, if you see here, negative sign, negative my, and this is what from 1 all zeros 31. Okay, from 1 all zeros 31 it is going to here, from 1 lakh 1 all zeros 31 to here, 1 all zeros 31 to 1 all zeros 31. So subtracting and moving it over here. Okay, so ultimately you can see that information. Just remove the test run and execute in the real mode to see the document number. Similarly, here the document number will be picked up from our CO document number. It is not an artificial updated run. That's fine. Now, if you go here in the report, internal order report, so we have selected these three internal orders and just execute. You can see the amounts. This is what your transaction. And if you see over here, this is not picked up. This is not picked up because why? Because this cost element is not maintained here in the sender. Only 400, 100 is maintained. So you can see only 400, 100 related stuff. This is not maintained. Got it?
Hey Nanda, can you go to the previous screen where you show, that only one cost element as a receiver? Okay, here. Now, if you wanted to just define, more than one cost element, is there any space you can put it? Because okay.
You can give
No,
a
that is
range
a
here.
range but that is a range, right?
You can create, you'll have to create a group.
Okay, in a particular group, so whatever, defined in that group, all will be settled.
Correct.
If you wanted to skip, like a few of them, only just you wanted to use, certain cost element. So,
So select here and select expenses and just select cost element here. You can select whatever the cost element you want.
Okay. So sometime, if you wanted to skip, some of the cost element and you don't want to use in the same group again and again, sometime you want to just skip one of them. So you have to create the groups.
Correct,
And based on that, you create the group every time you want to eliminate any cost
correct,
element.
correct. So I
I
want
see.
this and this. So 400, 100, 400, 300, just select that. Don't select 400, 300 here. That will be considered as a range
Okay.
400, 300. That's it.
Otherwise, most of the time, in input sections, they will give you like some functionality. In arrow, you click on arrow and you just define same way as you're defining on
It is
groups.
called as a cost element group
Right.
here.
Correct.
So you can just save here and the same thing will be considered. So keep your cursor here, go back to extras, change group, you can see them. And if you still want to add, you can add.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. So periodic reposting, we ran it and we got the values over here. Okay, so that's about the periodic reposting in using the internal order. Now we will see the budget now. So normally we don't use the budgets for this thing. If you really want the budget, WBS element, most of the times we will go for WBS. That is also one of the criteria why people go for WBS element in some cases. And of course, we have planning also. It's the same thing. I mean, creating a planning layout, it's the same thing. The planning. If you see over here, we are we are creating a planning profile. Before that, we will be creating a planning layout, internal order, and cost element planning. But I have never seen any planning on the internal order front. We will see only the cost center planning, profit center planning, but we don't see any planning on the internal order front. Okay, coming back to the budgeting. Maintain budget profile. Path for this is IMG, controlling, internal order, budget, and availability control. Maintain budget profile, execute. What for we use this? See, for all budgets and all, we have one module called funds management. Funds management will work effectively. Funds management will work effectively in the case of budgets. What exactly the budget and when do we use and why do we require a budget? Before we start a new fiscal year, you know, major companies, the big organization, they allocate the funds to different segments. Like for salaries, they will keep some amount for budgets. And for sales promotion, they will put some budget. For research and development, they will put some amount. So that's for budget. So always they try to keep, minimize the expenses. That's the main intention of any organization. So they want to minimize the expenses. In order to minimize and keep a control on those, we will maintain the budgets. That is the main reason why we maintain budgets. So when we maintain a budget, suppose salaries, for salaries, if I maintain a budget as 1 lakh, as we post the salaries to the employees, as long as within the budget, system will allow us to post the transaction. But when it reaches to 1 lakh, then it gives a warning message. I mean, of course, we can put that point, like when do you want to have a warning message, and when do you want to have a stoppage, that we will maintain. Now, once it reaches to 1 lakh, then system gives a message saying it is exhausted. And when we want to post transaction after 1 lakh, then system will stop the transaction, stop posting the transaction. System will not allow you to post the transaction because it is exceeding the budget. Okay, so that works effectively using the funds management module exclusively for that. But whatever the budgets we have in all other cases will not work effectively. I have never worked on the internal order budget. Of course, cost center budget, I worked in one area. Of course, we have discussed that part, but I've never worked on the internal order budget. But the process is going to be the same. There is no change at all. But my point is whether it controls the budget, that I'm not sure, but it it happens in the case of funds management activation. So funds management, I worked on funds management as well. It has a detailed kind of budget. Suppose I want to maintain a budget for a cost center for a particular cost element combination. Yes, I can do that. So I have that kind of, the minute level using the funds management, but in all other cases, I don't think we have that kind of flexibility to do that. But the control thing happens very, yeah, I mean, as soon as I have my budget touching 80%, I want the system to give a warning message. I once it reaches to 100%, I want to give one more warning. And once it is crossing 100%, I want the system to give a hard stop. I can do all of them using the funds management. It has got a lot of flexibility, so we can go for that. But not sure how far it works in the internal order. Let us discuss the same thing.
Nanda, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Okay. So here, we are talking about the budget, correct? So what is the difference between the planning and actual? We also use the concept called planning and actual in a controlling,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Planning
if
is
we, yeah, so planning means basically what you're budgeting, correct?
no,
So,
planning and budget. There is a lot of difference in that.
okay. In what sense?
Planning
Because,
is an estimation. Budget is, yeah. Go ahead.
no, yeah. So planning, you said, you are estimating this is what you're expecting to be, costing for
Mm-hmm.
particular department. But budget
Mm-hmm.
is completely, they will, just restrict you. So in case if you are, putting, entering, data, then the allocated, then it will throw an error. It will not allow you
Mm-hmm.
to post any transactions, correct? So that is what, I want to because I did later confused about, budget and planning.
That's
Because
what I'm saying.
PSEG we were using external module, which was, of course, it was a business object for SAP. It was a PCM, productivity costing management. That is also part of the budget FM module. So this is the two questions I have. Like,
See,
you made me understood. That when to use the budget and when to use the planning. So estimate and the budget.
okay,
Yeah.
right.
Uh,
So there is a lot of difference between planning and budgeting. Planning is just an estimation. Budget is nothing but allocation of funds. There is no there is no similarity between plan and budget. A lot of difference between plan and budget. Planning is just an estimation. Okay, it is just my next month expenses going to be 1 lakh dollar. 1 lakh dollar in the sense this may be salaries, this may be rent, this may be a stationary expenses, this may be a computer related stuff, or whatever the kind may be. So my planning is going to be 1 lakh, but I'm not allocating any funds for that planning. The moment I allocate any funds for that, that is called budgeting. In the case of budgets, the amounts will be allocated specifically for each of the group. That is called budgeting.
I think you have it in there, right? NASA. Okay, budgeting. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. 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 Clear.
Right.
Clear. Clear. Clear.
Okay, so maintain budget profile path for this is IMG controlling internal orders, budgeting and availability control, maintain budget profile. Just executor here, maintain budget profile, and the same budget profile needs to be maintained in the order type. So double click on the maintain budget profile. This is what basically this thing is. So do you want to see when the past, do you want to have some information about the past and future? This you can see while maintaining the budgets. Of course, we have seen the similar concept in our cost center budget. Okay. I don't want anything for the past because normally we don't allocate anything for the past. We will allocate for the future only. Okay. Now, do you want to have total values and annual values? Yes, I want to see that as well. You can see this part basically when you are allocating the funds, when you are allocating the budgets. Okay. Now, what kind of exchange rate that you want to consider? Okay. If at all you want to have any value date for the exchange rate, you can keep that. Value date in the sense, suppose if I say 1st January 2019, so whatever the exchange rate available on that date, system will pick up the same thing all the time. Okay, so that is what the value date talks about. Next, reminder translation. Not sure about it. I'm just clicking on F1 over there. So currency translation of reminder, overall and annual values of planner budgets are always stored for a particular object. Appropriate request order WBS element or investment program position in the system. The corresponding controlling area currency and in the object currency if different. If the transaction currency used for planning or budgeting is different to the controlling area or object currency, the values entered need to be translated. Okay. So if you want to consider basically what happens is whatever the budget that we are maintaining all will happen uh, based on the currency what we maintain in the internal order or the controlling area currency. If you want something else, then you need to pick up the translation date. What is the translation date here? When you are posting any transaction other than these currencies, so system requires an exchange rate, right? So in that exchange rate, what is the translation date? The translation date will be considered for moving the values from that currency into our controlling area currency. That is what the translation date, but I don't think that this field is that much important because that is a standard behavior of the program. So the latest conversion will be considered, so we don't require this to be selected. Next, what is the decimal places? If you want any decimal places, we can see that scaling factor. Of course, we have seen this during our cost center related stuff. If at all you enter zero factor with two decimals, what does it do is output will show like this. If you enter 1 2 3 4, it will show like this. So if you enter factor 3 with decimals 0, then you can see like this. If you input the values, it will show the output in this way. But I don't think I mean, I'm really not sure about it. Just we normally we keep this as blank. Okay, this is for investment management. This is another module. As I said, internal order is closely linked to the other module called investment management. So this is relating to that. Availability control, activation type. Here The 0 is for cannot be activated, automatic activation during budget, and background activation. So normally we will select 1 for automatic activation. Next, what is this usage? Not sure. I'm clicking on F1. Usage in background. Okay. So what is the percentage of usage that you want to consider out of your budget? Then you can keep. Otherwise, if you don't keep anything, it will consider the full 100%. I want to consider the availability control for my overall budget. Overall in the sense in a year, I want to consider, I don't want to go by monthly budget, monthly, the limitation. I want to see the overall. So what exactly this means is suppose if I have monthly budget as 100. So do you want to go by monthly budget restriction or yearly budget? Suppose if you mention as $100 monthly, in a year it will be $1,200. So if I select overall, it means even in the first period, if you consider 200, 300, system will allow you to do that. It means in a month, if I post 1200, it will still allow me to do that. But in a same month, if I want to post 1300, system will not post because it checks the overall budget of that particular year and considers that accordingly. So we can select if you want to go by overall budget, otherwise we can ignore. Next, object currency. What is this object currency? This object currency is the currency available in the internal order, because we are discussing this for internal order. So this internal order but currency is nothing but an object currency. Whatever the currency we maintain in the internal order, that is nothing but the object currency. Okay, so budgeting currency, in which currency do you want to maintain? You want to maintain controlling area currency or object currency, transaction currency. In the case of transaction currency, default object currency. So system will pick up the transaction currency. Based on the transaction currency, system will pick up the default object currency. Object currency in the sense, the currency whatever we maintain here in the internal order. So we want to maintain that in the controlling area currency. Just to save it. Okay, so I just want to keep 3 years, 3 future years. Okay, so this profile needs to be maintained here in our budget. All zeros 1, 20 R1, all zeros 1. Just to save. Back. Okay, so we have maintained for our uh, we have maintained this in our 20 R1 order type. Okay, next is define number ranges for budgeting. Okay, path is the same thing, just execute. Okay, here we will be maintaining the number ranges. So here change intervals, we have already have some number range. Okay, we already have some number range. Okay, we already have some number range. Back. But there is no option to assign. Yeah, because since we have got only one budget profile, there is nothing. Okay, now next is define tolerance limit for availability control. So what is the tolerance that you want to keep? That is what this thing talks about. Path is the same thing, just execute define tolerance limit for availability control. Here we will maintain this thing. So for our controlling area, we will have to maintain this target group is for masking. Plus plus is nothing but masking. all activity groups. It allows for all of them. Okay, it works in the case of purchase requisition, purchase order. It means it checks budget checks in all these cases. Orders for project, goods issue, financial accounting documents. This is what we will see. Basically, this is required for us in the case of internal order, CO document cases, budgeting cases, funds reservation, fixed prices. We have different scenarios. These are different scenarios, but in our case, basically we require for this. So if I enter plus plus, it means it is called masking. It accepts for all of them. Now here it is for activation. Action. It is not an activation. This is called an action. Now, if I enter 1, it gives a warning message. If I say 2, it gives a warning message with mail to person responsible. And if I say 3, it gives the error message. Okay. So what I will do, we will create our own. So go to new entries, give our controlling area. Our controlling area is 1248. What is our profile? We have got only one profile, selecting the same. Next, target group is going to be masking. I will say masking. Then this is action. I will say 1 in the case of warning, and I will create one more when it reaches to 100%. I will say 3. I will say 101%. I'll say 90% here. Absolute variance. I'm just clicking on F4, F1 over there. Maximum permissible absolute variance. What could be the maximum variance that you are allowing? If the difference between the assigned funds and the budget exceeds the absolute variance, availability control triggers the appropriate action. If budget is $1,000 and an absolute variance is $200, it means it allows until 1,200. The appropriate action is triggered as soon as the total of all assigned funds exceeds 1,200. So I don't want to give any absolute variance. Press enter. It is in INR. Just to save it. That's it. So what I'm doing, I'm keeping 90% for warning, and once it reaches 100%, I'm saying the error message. Okay, so we have maintained our tolerance. This is one of the important step because system to give the warning message, system will give the warning message based on this information. Next, specify exempt cost element. If you want to restrict some cost elements being considered in the budgets, you can maintain over here. Otherwise, you can ignore. Normally, we don't maintain anything. So what is this setup availability control again? Okay, so we will be maintaining individually for the individual orders something. Let's say I have entered an order and executing. What is the control? Availability control not activated. Reconstruct availability control for orders. So I don't think it is important because it is based on the order. Order is the master data, whereas this activity is in the SPRO, so we will not be using. Next, maintain budget manager. Of course, we don't use this. Controlling area. What is this? Order type, object class. Okay, so what kind of expense, whether you want to consider investment related or revenue related, overhead related, production related, what do you want to consider? You can keep some conditions, restrictions over here. So of course we don't use all of them. So basically the first three are important things in our case. This is a profile and the number range is maintained, tolerance is maintained or here. Okay, that's it. We have completed our budgeting. Let's go back here and maintain some budget in our internal order. So let me create one internal order and maintain some budget to that particular internal order. So enter, select KO01 path. Of course, we know for creating an internal order using the order type. So to this order type, we have maintained budget profile. Press enter, internal order for budget. I'm selecting the company code. Don't use controlling area with company. Oh, sorry, ours is 2000, right? Yeah, company code, save. So we got this thing, one all zeros, 34 is our internal order. So let us maintain a budget over here. Original budget KO22, KO22 is for maintaining the budget. The same is used for change also. Okay, path for this is easy access, accounting, controlling, internal orders, budgeting, original budget, KO88 change. Just enter into this, take the order, okay, and just enter over here, or you can select the original budget. Now you see here, I did mention as 3 future years, right? Along with the current year. So you can see 3 future years. You don't see the past years. And this is called overall budget. Since we are selecting the overall budget, we will be looking at here. Now, what I will do for 2019, I will say 1000. I will say not 1000. Let me say 60,000. I think our exchange rate is maintained as 60, 60 or 50. Let us see. What is our exchange rate? Let us see. OB08 M USD to INR. 1 USD equals to 50 INR. So what I will say here, I'll keep 50,000. Okay. Now the moment I press enter, we will have an error. Enter exchange rate type between USD and INR rate type for P in the system settings. Why P it is expecting, since we have mentioned over here as M. We have entered here M, but still system is expecting as P.
Yeah, the reason is that, because we are using controlling, correct? This is, based on controlling. So controlling, default
No,
is the
no,
AP.
no, it's not that. That is not the case. Let me just maintain with M with a different amount. Let us see. Let me say here 60. Okay, let me just see now what it says. It is allowing. No, but that is not the right approach, because here we have selected as M, right, exchange rate type to be considered for overall budget. Let me put here overall budget. If I say 60,000, Let me delete this. Now let me maintain the same budget again. Let's see. Let me just see, because it has to consider based on this only. So probably this is considering only for overall budget of what. Okay, I think it is considered for overall budget, but anyways, let us see once again. Here I'll maintain 30,000 here. Yeah, for individual it is expecting P. For overall, it is for overall, I think. Since it is mentioned for overall, I think it is expecting overall only. For individual, it is expecting P. Okay, so let me maintain P over here. OB08. Let me take MUSDINR. Select the same thing, copy it, and I'll say P. Okay, so I will say 50 here. Suppose I say here 30, and if I want to say 60,000, does it allow? Yeah, it should not allow. Overall is crossing. Yeah, it is perfect only, but I'm not understanding why this is based on P. Okay, so overall budget is 30,000. Now, it should not cross when you are considering your budget year wise, it should not cross your overall budget. Now, if I say 1,20,000 or here, and it means it should not cross 1,20,000 overall, right? Now I'm saying save. Here for 2019, I'm keeping 60,000 as my budget. Let us see how it works. Now this is our document number. If you want to go and see the budget available for this year, you can see. And how much is assigned, that you can see over here. Okay, let us see. Let us post a transaction using this internal order. F-02. I'm posting some transaction using some expenditure. I will say 60,000, right? How much was the budget we maintained? KO 23, I think, right? Yeah, 60,000 we didn't mention. It means uh, more than $1,000. So let me put $1,000 over here, and I will enter the internal order. So 1,20,000 posted. Now let us go back and see the internal order budget. It is mentioned assigned 50,000. Okay, it is not happening over here. It is not happening individually. So whatever the transaction we have posted, it is updated over here in this. Let us post some $500 transaction. Let us see the impact. So I will just confirm whether it is restricting or what. but the funds management will work year wise effectively. Oh, I have entered 1000. Anyways, let us keep 1000 only. Saving. It is allowing. Even though you have maintained the budget as 60,000, it means around $1,200. It allowed us to post $2,000. Here it is 1 lakh. There is nothing updated in the current year. So let us post another $500 and see. 500 in the sense 2 lakhs it will be. No, uh, 50 rupees per dollar, right? So let us post $200. 200 into 5, no, $400. If I post $400, it will be 1,20,000. Now I'll post $500. Let us see whether it restrict us from posting the transaction. Let us see. I will put $500. Okay, posting it. Yeah, now it is stopping. Budget exceeded. So it is basically working on the overall budget. Let us see the configuration. Okay, so availability control, it is checking overall. So I'm just removing this, saving. So probably this is because of this overall budget. It is not allowing us to do. Okay, I think it is restricting, but let us try it once again. I'm going to create a new order because we have changed our configuration. I want to create a new one. So let us save it. This is our internal order. I want to maintain budgets to this. Let me go and maintain budget for this. Yeah, KO 22 for 35. I want to maintain. Let us say same amount I'll keep here. I'll say 1 lakh only. I'll say 50,000 or here. Save. Okay, this is our document number. Now what I will do, I'll post a transaction. F-02 4 lakhs. I will say now $1,000. 35 is our internal order. 50, 1,20,000. So $1,000. Save. Yeah, budget exhausted. It is giving a warning message now. Save it. Posted. Let us see now in the display. Yes, it is selecting. This is what basically the expectation is. Now it is 50,000, right? So it is saying as a assigned. So this is happening based on this configuration. Okay, and now let us post another transaction using $100. So system should not allow us to post. Okay, so let me post now 400. I will say $500 of just $100. System should not allow us to post. Save. Yeah, budget exceeded. Perfect. So it is working. The internal order budget is working, but the limitation here is we will maintain the budget at the order level. It means we don't have further restriction like for this order, for this cost element, I want to keep some budget. That is not possible. That is not happening over here. So we can maintain the budget only at the order level, and it is working perfectly. It is not allowing us to proceed further even when the amount is crossing the budget. Any questions in this?
Nanda, what cost element we are using for this budget?
4 lakhs.
4 lakhs. Okay. Now, same thing if we wanted to restrict the cost for cost center, if we wanted to make a budget for a cost center,
Mhm.
is going to be the same configurations or is there any?
No, we have already discussed that. Cost center budget we have already discussed. The configuration is similar to this.
Okay.
We have already discussed that part.
But you can do it, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that we
Cost
have
center,
discussed already. Yeah.
yeah. Cost center and also any object for that matter. WBS and cost
WBS anyways
center.
we have WBS, but
Yes.
we don't have production order budget. I don't think we have production order, sales order related stuff. For production order, we don't have the budget at all.
Now, suppose if you wanted to like create a budget,
Mhm.
not for one particular cost element, but if you wanted to add, like six, seven, so we can, give the range or the individual cost element into the configuration so that it keep tracks of, individually or like suppose if you have assigned, $100,000, correct? For
Uh-huh.
that becomes only 100,000 for combined cost element or just only one of
No,
each.
no, no, for all. That's what I'm saying. We are not maintaining the budget in the combination of cost element. We are maintaining the budget at the internal order. Whatever the GL you consider, that's fine. It's immaterial for them. Now, if I try to post, so you are saying now we have considered this 4 lakh. Let us consider the other GL. Even in that case also system will stop you because we are maintaining the budget at the internal order, not at the in the combination of internal order and the cost element. So I'm taking a different cost element. Let me just select same $100 internal order. So 50 bank account 100. Now if I say save, it is saying the same. We are not maintaining
Okay.
the budget in the combination of internal order and cost element. We are maintaining at the internal order level.
Okay,
Okay.
Nanda. Okay, Nanda. So we are, doing this for internal order level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we wanted to use the cost element,
Mm-hmm.
so we just control or do the assign the budget to
That's what
cost
I'm
element.
saying. We don't have that option at all here. We don't have that option. If you want that, we will have to use funds management. We don't
I
have an option.
see.
We don't
Okay.
have an option at all here.
The only option we have, we can just do it, for internal order level, but not even
Correct.
cost element, not even cost center.
Correct. Cost
Okay.
center is will not come here in this. Cost
Okay.
center, we will have to use another transaction code available in the cost center. Cost center budget here, this we will have to use.
Okay. Okay.
So using this you can maintain the cost center here.
Okay.
This we have already discussed. Okay, cost center is different here. we are discussing about the internal order.
Okay.
The main problem here is we can maintain only at the internal order level. We don't have further restrictions, right? For this cost element I want this much internal order, for for this cost element in the combination of internal order I want to keep some different budget. That is not available here. We are maintaining at the internal order level.
Okay, but oh yeah, you are right. Okay, so most of the company, they use the external business object for budgeting and planning, or they use the funds management.
Funds management will work perfectly.
Perfectly. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't know, but one
Minute
company.
level. I mean, it
Fine.
accepts the budgets at the minute level.
So we were doing it, we were using PCM, so all they were, making the budget for all payroll, HR,
Mhm.
HR the department, they were, preparing the budget, like you said, that they use most of the time, for labor cost to control the labor cost. So they were using the PCM. They were, taking all the data from SAP HR module to the PCM,
Mhm.
and they were, preparing the model, and they were, coming up, updating the data in a PCM, and they will bring it all those data after analysis back to the SAP
SAP.
system. Right.
Okay.
So that's where, I believe, it goes to the funds management after getting the data from.
No, no, no. If the funds management is active, we don't require any third party tool.
Oh,
Funds management will give you very, very minute level.
oh, okay.
Okay. So if I want to add more, further more to my budget, I can do here.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what my budget, initial budget.
So once you reach to the budget amount, you can, if you wanted to add some more for that particular budget, you can do that, correct?
Yes, supplement. That is
Okay.
what supplement. So
I
this
see.
is our overall budget, and this is the budget we have maintained. So what we can do in order to add further more KO24 supplement. So double click on the path for this is easy access, accounting, controlling, internal order, budgeting, supplement, change KO24. Just enter into that, take the order number, press enter, and I will say here some 1 lakh. Okay, I'm just saving now. Oh, I think it is. What is the overall budget we have maintained? Okay, overall budget is 1 lakh only, right? Okay, what I'll do, I'll say just 20,000. Save. I think if you see over here, the overall budget is 1 lakh. Overall budget is 1 lakh, right? So already we have entered 50,000. Just now we have added 20,000. That 20,000 is available here. It means still you can assign 20,000 now. So that is what the supplement budget. If we go and post the transaction now for another 20,000, it allows. It means um, something like $500, 20,000, 20,000 is allowed, right? 20,000 in the sense, how many dollars? 20,000 divided by 50, $400. It allows until $400. Now let us post 500 now. System will stop us to post the transaction. I'll say 400 now. In the next transaction, I'll post another $100. It is saying exhausted, giving the warning message. Posted. Now let us go and see the budget. You can see now 70,000 exhausted. If I post now, system will stop. Right, exhausted. Not here. This is the one. Okay, exhausted. Okay, so yeah, internal order. In the case of internal order, budget is working, but we have some limitations in that. So this is what basically the internal order budget is. Any questions?
So the budget can feature can be only used, if it is at all required in internal order. Because if you are using the AUC, then there is you don't control the cost. Whatever cost comes, it comes. So in that scenario, we don't, just simply use that budget and assign to the internal order, right? In some cases,
There
only.
also we will use. There also we will maintain budget.
Hmm.
It means for a construction of a building, they will predict how much budget is required. So why budget is required? In order to avoid cash crunch, funds crunch,
Hmm.
right? We will allocate funds, and after allocating the funds, then they will decide the leftover profits of the current year. So whether to consider as a dividend or investment or something they will consider. So budget is used everywhere.
Okay.
So
So
even in the
so
construction, we will use the budget.
So it is a good practice, to just know, regardless of anything, we need to just ask business, to use the budget functions in internal orders as well as to the cost center for that matter.
No, we normally we don't maintain at the internal order level. That's what I'm saying. So just an internal order, nobody will maintain.
Hmm.
They will maintain in that combination. Let's say internal order with cost element.
Hmm.
That combination is required.
Oh, that
That
combination.
functionality is not available in the internal order.
Okay, I see.
This
Okay.
is just you can maintain a budget at the internal order level.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, that we can, ask business, to use the budget functionality in the internal order levels.
Yes, but the limitation here is you can maintain only at the internal order. We don't have further restriction. That also
Further.
you will have to tell the you will have to pass the message, because if you just say as budget is available in the internal order, and you need to show them some prototype, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there you will have to mention some limitation. You can do this budget only at the internal order level. That limitation you will have to mention.
Okay.
Okay, any
All
other
right.
questions?
No. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we will see the AUC scenario.
All
Then
right.
from there, we will proceed to profit center accounting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone.